Hey, what's going on YouTube? I'm Blaze, and today we're going to have a look at the ultimate guide for the TX-130 tank, which arrived to Battlefront 2 last week. Apologies for this video being one day late, but without further ado, we're going to jump straight into it with this guy's base stats. The tank has 1000 health without any upgrades, and the health regen starts after 5 seconds and is quite slow. However, both the base health and the regen speed can be upgraded with star cards, which I recommend, and stick around to the end if you want to find out the star cards which I use for the TX-130. As far as movement goes, this guy is actually pretty maneuverable when you're moving forward. However, side to side and backwards, the movement speed is quite slow, and obviously the TX-130 is a huge tank, so it's quite difficult to navigate certain maps, particularly Theed on Capital Supremacy is a map where you're not going to have much fun moving around the map. The main weapons are very strong, however they can't be aimed anywhere further than about 10 meters away, so if you've got an enemy at close range, you could try running them over, but honestly you just want to back up to use your main weapon. And moving on to the first ability, which is the laser barrage. This is actually a really powerful ability, however it does have quite some damage drop off, and I'm fairly confident that it doesn't actually do that much damage against other tanks. Obviously this is very hard to test because you can't get tanks in split screen arcade, so you really only have this in multiplayer, and I'm not the best tank player, so whilst I obviously try and put as much as I know about the tank in this video, I don't have full experience of it. What I can tell you is that you're far better off using your main cannons for enemies which are farther away and enemies who are in tanks. And the TX-130's middle or second ability is the Overcharge Ability, and this is actually a really cool one. And take note that whilst you might think that, like the AAT tank for the droids, that this will be immobile whilst you use the ability, that's not actually the case. You can move whilst you charge it up, which is amazing. It does obviously fire after you charge it up for too long, and the longer you charge it up, the more damage you get. And this certainly is a powerful tool for dealing with enemy tanks. There are two main problems with this though. First is, usually the main guns will do just as much if not more damage reliably, and the second problem is these guys have pretty slow projectile speed, so aiming it at any kind of distance is actually pretty hard to do. And it's certainly true that this is actually a much better alternative to backing up and firing at someone, is if you pop the overcharge, charge it up whilst you're backing up, you'll actually be able to fire a much more powerful shot by the time you've got in range to someone who's way too close to you. And the third and final ability for the TX-130 is the Rockets ability. Now this works a little differently from other abilities we've seen in Battlefront 2, in the sense that you have 10 rockets which are represented on your UI element. If they're large circles, then you've got the rockets ready. If they're small, tiny ones, then you've already depleted them, and you've got those in your arsenal, and by tapping the Rockets ability, you will actually fire a single rocket. However, if you hold the ability button in, then the rockets will begin to charge up, and you'll see those UI elements getting even larger, and that actually takes quite a while to charge up, but they will not fire even if you charge it for a ridiculously long amount of time, so you can just wander around the map with these things fully charged and then unleash it on someone. And the actual big bonus of this ability is not only does it give you some extra damage which you can use whilst you're shooting or charging up your other abilities, but it also works on the sense that if you have someone too close for your main weapons, then you can just use the Rockets ability, and if you hit a direct shot that will usually take out an infantry unit, or you might have to hit a couple of shots, but it's definitely good to get that damage in whilst you're backing up to shoot them with your main weapons. And that leads me straight onto the combos and strategies, starting off with the fact that you can literally use the middle ability, which is the charge shot, charge that up and fire your rockets, or you can laser barrage and fire your rockets at the same time for some insane burst damage. However, obviously they need to be at the right range, and the tank aiming in this game in general, any kind of vehicle aiming, can be a bit juddery in the sense that certain parts have really high sensitivity, but then certain parts don't, and I haven't quite got it figured out myself yet, so I occasionally come out with bits of potato aim, and that can really have detrimental effects when you're using the rockets or any kind of other burst damage, because you could very well miss, and then you're just a large hitbox to be shot at with no real way to get into cover. So the strategy here is you actually want to take out your enemies before they take on you, and even if that means you get quite close to them, so you're just at a sweet spot range where it's not too far away that you'll miss or do anything else like that, but it's close enough that you can still use your main weapons and all the other abilities, and you're pretty much guaranteed to hit the enemy. And what you want to do is, even if there's a large group of enemies, you need to take them out as fast as possible, because really if your enemies are alive, there's no way for you to recover and regain health, and the only way to regain health, as I said, is to get rid of your enemies so that you will have breathing space to regen. Although to be fair, the alternative method of playing, which I haven't really used that much because I've been playing on the CS Naboo map mostly, but on long range maps another way to use this tank really effectively is actually just to sit at long range and pick off your enemies at a distance, which can actually be really fun using the Overcharge Ability as well. You might not necessarily get as many kills in such short time, but you're certainly going to be so far away that you won't have any issues with your health. Now for star cards, the star cards I like to use, well obviously we're going to go for the health cards, so definitely the improved auto repairs, I think it's called the repair system card, is a really good one because in between downtime you will actually regen 50% faster at epic level, which means you'll have a lot more health going into the next fight. Additionally, you want the 200 extra health on your vehicle with the reinforced hull star card, and that 200 health can actually be the difference between life and death a lot. That's 200 health at epic level. And then the final one is more personal preference. I like to go for the increased damage on the middle ability, which is really good because when you're using the overcharge, you can actually deal with enemy tanks really fast on a full charge. However, if you're more of a laser barrage kind of guy, then I would go for the improved duration star card, and that will also help, although I find you've probably already killed the person you're aiming at if you're going for the laser barrage against an infantry, so the extra duration is just overkill. Anyway, that's going to round up that video. I hope you have enjoyed. Like if you did, subscribe for more content like this. Bye.